On this week's Prequel episode, we follow up on our Malcolm X listener polls and preview Predestination. Hello and welcome back to This Film Is Lit podcast, where we talk about movies that are based on books. It's another prequel episode. It's very late because, well, a couple of reasons. It was already going to be late because of the last episode being a little late. We were giving people more time for feedback. But then I got sick, as you can probably tell. Still, like
this is the best you've sounded all week.
Yeah, and it's the best I felt generally. I still have a little bit of stuff in the lungs. But yeah, I had a cold all week and have been out of commission. Finally able to a point where I think I can record without hacking up a lung the whole time. So, yeah, we're going to get into it, though. Thank you for your patience. We're going to start how we always do with our patron shoutouts.
I put up with you because your father and mother were our finest patrons. That's why.
No new patrons this week, but we do have our Academy Award-winning patrons, and they are Amanda, Nicole Goebel, Harbo Rat, Nathan, Matilde, Cottonwood Steve, Ben Wilcox, Teresa Schwartz, Ian from Wine Country, Kelly Napier, Gratch, Just Gratch, Shelby will return in Avengers Doomsday, and That Darn Skag. Thank you all for your continuing support. Really appreciate it. Katie, let's see what the people had to say about Malcolm X.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right. It's been so long now, I feel like, since I've read the book and watched the movie. I hope I'm going to remember what everybody's talking about. On Patreon, we had 5 votes for the book and 0 for the movie. Shelby said, I'm picking the book because if I'm learning about someone's life, I want the more accurate version. I think I also just enjoyed the book more, to be honest. I didn't know anything about Malcolm X's death other than that he was assassinated, so that part of the film really had my attention. I laughed out loud when baby Giancarlo Esposito appeared because, of course, who else could they possibly cast to kill Malcolm X? Thanks for covering this. It was a hole in my education, and I learned a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. He doesn't do a lot in this movie, but or he doesn't have a lot to do in this movie. But he's also I don't know if Shelby has seen, but he's also. Have you seen Do the Right Thing?
Years ago, yeah.
Do the Right Thing is a great movie, and he has a little bit more to do in that one. And it's a very fun character, and also evidence of why he needs to stop being typecast is just like the scary villain guy.
I mean, he's good at it.
He has more range. But than that.
Yeah. I would like to watch that one again. I watched it in college, and I don't remember it all that well, but I remember liking it. Our next comment was from Nathan. Nathan said, I'm probably not being fair to the movie, but to me, it's a pale imitation of the book. The autobiography of Malcolm X is, as Katie mentioned, 500 pages long, and I think it justifies the need for every single word. No movie, even at 213 minutes, could possibly do justice to that size of work. I mentioned unfairness, and I will fully admit that I had reached this conclusion prior to watching the movie, but I still think I'm correct. The book takes longer to get through every part of Malcolm's life, but I think it uses this time to really develop who he was as opposed to who he becomes. He mostly doesn't pass active judgment on his past self, just recounts things as if he were experiencing them for the first time. In the epilogue, Haley mentions that Malcolm X had marked up changes to the section on Elijah Muhammad that would have updated to reflect his views after leaving the Nation of Islam, but accepted Haley's advice to leave it as is. This was the right choice, and it really makes the book so much more of a journey. I can feel the transformative power that Brian saw in the movie in the book. While I went down a leftist path long before I read/watched this for the first time this month, I can see parallels to the queer visibility issues that spurred my own transformation. We have to acknowledge the bad stuff that happens to anyone in our society, not ignore it, or we will never grow. The book really benefits from being in Malcolm's head in the way that literature can achieve, and is always hard to replicate in film without ponderous narration. Mm-hmm. I also appreciated in the last 80-ish pages with Haley's perspective. They really served to give voice to the external filter for and context to Malcolm's story. I don't know that the movie really successfully mimics that. I wondered if they might even have Haley as a character in this movie. It would have been weird and sort of meta, so I see why they didn't, but it could have worked. I could envision a different version of this movie that has the interviews as like a frame story.
Yeah.
I don't know that that would make the movie any better or worse.
It would just be different.
It would just be different.
Yeah.
I always got the sense that Malcolm was called Red because of his skin color. Looking back, it was primarily his hair, but he definitely is referred to as a red-skinned black man. Interestingly, in the NOI origin of the world, red is one of the less perfect races that Jakob had to go through to get from perfect original black folks to fully evil white folks.
Huh.
We didn't even talk about that.
What?
There's like in the like
Racial hierarchy.
in the book, there's like this whole like folklore backstory for that the Nation of Islam has about did we talk about that?
No.
I can't remember.
No.
But you're
we
aware of what I'm talking about.
No, well, I mean, just going based on what he said, I can understand. Like, I'm aware that Nation of Islam has weird, like, racial hierarchy shit involved in it. I don't know the specifics, but...
I wondered if that fueled a small inferiority complex in Malcolm and made him so outspoken in preaching their message. It could be, yeah. My least favorite part of the movie was Baines. I didn't like that he was created due to the removal of Malcolm's family and really didn't care for how important a fictional character became in the real story of Malcolm's departure from the NOI. That's fair.
Yeah.
It changes history too much for my comfort. Another change I understand as a move for adapting fiction, but don't love when changing reality, was the importance of West Indian Archie. In reality, Sammy was the contact for Malcolm to get settled in Harlem and enter the criminal world there. I get why you conflate the two since Archie needs to be around for the gambling kerfluffle, but I'm not comfortable with changing history.
We've talked about it before. It is, you kind of have to...
Yeah, the movie truncates that part a lot.
You kind of always have to... Unless you're doing some sort of sprawling mini series or something where you can really, that's like 10 hours long. Like you could do this story in justice in like 10-hour mini series or something like that, but to where you could include every little minor character. But in a film, you simply have to. It just becomes too much of a pain to,
Speaking of the kerfluffle, Malcolm definitely says 821 when placing his bet because that is the time when he does it, and the movie indicates 821 is the number that won. Similar to your issues on the Russian roulette scene, having this be a movie means that something has to be shown to happen, and thus Malcolm is clearly correct. In the book, Malcolm is perpetually high at that time in his life, so not super reliable as a storyteller, and he also doesn't seem sure if he did win the numbers game. Given that West Indian Archie was all about remembering numbers, I generally assumed that Malcolm hadn't actually bet the numbers he thought he did.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. I was thinking about that more, though, in context of the movie, that maybe there is more of an argument. Now, I would argue that in the filmic language of the movie, that it doesn't really indicate that in the numbers scene or the bullet scene, but the movie does actually have, now that I think about it, a direct acknowledgement of like an unreliable narrator or events not playing out exactly as always indicated on screen that you're seeing very early in the film in a scene that you liked in the movie and that I liked, which is the fantasy where he imagines shoving the sandwich in that dude's face. We see that happen,
but
and
it
then
doesn't
we see that it
happen,
didn't actually happen. Now, again, I think the filmic language of how that's edited is different enough from the way like the bullet scene and the number scene are done that I don't think you can assume that it's meant to be unreliable in that same way, but there is at least there is another thing you could point to in the movie of like, hey, there are things you see that did not happen as depicted. So
yeah, that's interesting. I had not thought about that, but that is a very interesting little additional moment. Spike Lee believes, or at least it did at the time of the movie's release, that CIA and FBI were involved in Malcolm's murder.
Yeah. Growing up in a black school with a lot of so I was in drumline, and I had some of my mentors at that time period were some like college age music instructors who were our drum instructors, and they were They were interesting guys, shall we say. I like them a lot in certain ways. They were horrible people to be in charge of children in other ways. They were just way too irresponsible. Looking back, I'm like, why in the world? Like in my head at the time, I was like 16. I assumed these guys were probably like 35. I realize now they were like 22.
Yeah.
Like they were like literally had
also children.
And I'm like, and they were like taking us on like out of state trips. And I'm like, what? It's insane now that I look back at it, and just deeply irresponsible people. Good music, whatever. But they were also a weird combination of woke, regressive, like.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, you know, I think we talked. I don't know if we were talking about Malcolm X the movie or something like that, but they were very much. At least a couple of them I remember of the opinion that yes, the CIA killed.
I mean,
which again is not outlandish.
Yeah,
it's
not something I.
We know that the FBI was involved with the blackmailing and like smear campaign against MLK, and like again, I'm not saying that they killed MLK. I'm just saying that they were involved with nefarious stuff. That so yeah, it's not, and we know they've assassinated other people, so it's not, you know.
Yeah.
They're
If it came out that was, I would be 0% surprised.
But from what we know, it was the Nation of Islam. From my understanding, the most prominent kind of historian perspective is that he was assassinated by members of the Nation of Islam for that stuff.
The book doesn't mention Malcolm running into folks he thought were undercover agents while on his pilgrimage, but the choice to have Malcolm actually say towards that the government was helping and or manipulating the NOI and killing him was a step too far for me, since that didn't happen. I believe the government wasn't really above murdering black leaders at the time, but we don't really have the evidence of that, and according to the book, Malcolm never mentioned it as a fear.
Yeah, they were definitely watching him, and you know, you can even see like maybe they were giving information to people who might be, you know, there's all kinds of things that the FBI or the CIA
knew something and just let it happen.
There's all kinds of things that could have gone on that is not them directly being like, we need to assassinate this guy. Let's make that happen. There's a lot of levels of involvement below that are, I think, more likely.
I thought the description of Mecca in the book was really effective. It was clear to some extent that Malcolm was getting a sanitized view, but he does spend at least part of 2 days and overnight in holding because they didn't trust his status as a real Muslim, and he interacted with normal people then. He makes a lot of grandiose claims based on that time, like everyone snores the same way and thus Muslims must be unified. Regardless of how unaware of reality Malcolm was, the book still does a great job to make you feel his sense of really belonging on this pilgrimage, and this makes his rhetorical shift upon returning home seem very natural. The scene with Malcolm on a camel near the pyramids was a recreation of real-life footage that shows towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, which is why it feels so much like vacation footage. But
vintage
I did
vacation
notice
footage.
That it is based on real footage.
I immediately called bullshit when Malcolm told the Russian roulette story because it just seemed too much like a movie scene. So when we find out about the palmed bullet, it made things make a lot more sense too.
I mean, it definitely feels like a movie scene, but sometimes those things happen in real life.
Yeah. All right. Our last comment on Patreon was from Harpo Rat. Harpo Rat is the patron who requested that we cover this book and movie, so thank you, Harpo Rat. First off, thanks for doing my recommendation, and my next one won't be as long. I have a terrible memory regarding the media I consume, so I barely remember the book. However, reviewing the book with your episode was wonderful. I first read the book because I realized that even though Malcolm X was an American historic figure that I've heard of since I was a child, I was never really taught anything about him beyond roughly a paragraph, and none of it was about his life post-Mecca experience. From what I remember, the book had me hooked the whole time. I remember enjoying the writing style that Malcolm X and Alex Haley used. I watched the movie more recently and was pretty amazed by it. As I watched the movie, memories from the book were surfacing constantly, and the movie as a whole was very gripping. Denzel Washington's performance was fantastic. I liked the movie, but I'm just not sure how you adapt an autobiography in such a way that would have me choose it over the primary source. Over on Facebook, we had 1 vote for the book and 0 for the movie. And we had another comment from Nathan. I think Nathan left one on almost every platform this time.
Taking that challenge.
Yes, taking it seriously.
Yep.
So Nathan said, gotta be the book. At risk of making this too much about myself and my identity as an
God.
atheist, I would just
Already too late. We've already done it.
I would just mention a quote that stuck out to me from the book. Since I learned the truth in Mecca, my dearest friends have come to include all kinds. Some Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Hindus, agnostics, and even atheists. A man who previously identified as an atheist, admittedly while he was a criminal and all-around terrible dude, and made a larger portion of his life about trashing Christianity, still thinks it's the most surprising that he could be friends with a godless atheist. Also, I kind of like how this comment mirrors the some of my best friends are black people, in quotes, construction that so many racists use as justification of their behavior and words.
I don't know. I want, because the movie definitely doesn't ever depict him as an atheist.
So,
And I would be interested to hear about that, like if he ever called himself that, or if he called. Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't recall in the book that he ever referred to himself specifically as an atheist.
Yeah.
There is a portion of the book, like he talks a lot in the beginning of the book about how he doesn't like Christianity for various reasons.
Sure, yeah.
And
that I buy. But
there's like a portion in the book, specifically like the prison portion before he starts getting into Islam, where he is very much in this like God isn't real kind of a bend.
Yeah.
But it feels, I don't know if it feels to me more like, it felt to me less like atheism and more like a reactionary response to.
That's what I was going to say. Actually, this doesn't surprise me at all because I never, again, the little I know about Malcolm X, specifically in regard to like his religion, what I know is from this movie and just some very broad reading. But it would not surprise me at all to know that maybe he would have called himself an atheist at some point, but that it would not have been, especially if it was during his younger time, which you reference here, you said admittedly while he was a criminal and all-around terrible dude, which is when he was very young. I don't think it was like a reasoned philosophical atheism.
No.
Is not what the impression I would get.
I think it was an angry reactionary.
Yeah, sort of just like God, I hate God kind of rejection of God thing. And which I think is clear by the fact that he then becomes a Muslim, like a very devout Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly has a very strong like attachment and disposition towards religion, it would appear, of some sort, obviously. And so I think it's kind of very understandable then that he would that I don't find that saying of like, oh, I have my dearest friends have come to include all kinds, even atheists, despite the fact that he was maybe nominally an atheist at some point in his life because he didn't quote unquote believe in God. I don't think those are as like not hypocritical. Yeah, maybe hypocritical positions as it may sound at first blush, because of the type of atheist that he was. In the same way that a lot of like conservative Christians will say like, oh, I used to be an atheist. And it's like, they weren't really.
Yeah.
And not to know true Scotsman it, but like, it's very common for like Kirk Cameron is one of them who does this all the time. He was like, well, I was an atheist. And it's like, when he was 17, he hated his parents. So he like told them he didn't believe in God because they told him,
which is not the same thing.
Which
as
is not the same thing as like
philosophical.
getting to a point. And again, I'm not saying that it's bad or whatever. I'm just saying that there is a difference there between like, I have thought about a lot, very hard and deeply about like all of the different arguments for and against the existence of God. And I have come down on the side of, I think God does not exist versus I was 17 and mad at my parents and told them God isn't real because, like, maybe, and then so thus I describe myself as an atheist when I was younger. I think those are a little bit different things. And it sounds to me like Malcolm X maybe fell a little bit closer to that version than like.
I having read the book, that's what I would say. I also, I don't think that this particular quote necessarily has to be interpreted as Malcolm X himself thinking that it's surprising he could be friends.
I would agree. That's another
with an
angle
atheist. I think you definitely can read it that way, but I think you could also read it as just a general reflection of the dominance of religion in society, and particularly at this time.
Yes, he's speaking to an audience where the idea of a Muslim or a Christian being friends with an atheist is crazy. And he's saying, yes, even atheist people, like, yes, we can even have communion and form community with people who are atheist. Maybe that's less of an indictment of his own views on it and more of an indictment on society's views on it that he is expressing there. I would agree with that
for sure.
entirely.
Over on Instagram, we didn't have any comments. We did have one from Tim Wahoo, but it wasn't relevant, so I didn't include it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Gotta
Tim.
try harder, Tim.
We did have 2 votes for the book and 4 for the movie. On Threads, we had 1 vote for the book, 0 for the movie, and another comment from Nathan, who said, I'm picking the book because it's maybe the best nonfiction book I have ever read.
Wow.
Regarding the film, though, how did Denzel not get the Oscar? Al Pacino is a good actor, but I'm not convinced he has ever had a better performance than Denzel in Malcolm X.
Was that Scent of a Woman that he won? I'm
Yes.
trying to... That he won for that. Oh,
Nathan mentions that in a minute. Denzel, on the other hand, has had quite a few better performances because Denzel Washington is the best actor of all time, period.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know if I would go that. He's a good actor.
He's a really good actor. I don't know if I know enough about. I also
think Al Pacino
his
a really
performances to make that claim.
Yeah, I think Al Pacino can also be way worse than Denzel ever is. I don't know if Denzel is ever bad, whereas Al Pacino can be bad and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Denzel's like always good to some degree, but I don't. Yeah. But that's your opinion, obviously.
And Nathan added here, to be clear, I mentioned Pacino because he won the Oscar that year for Scent of a Woman.
I'm looking here. Let me look real quick. I want to see what the other.
Yeah, well, who were the other nominees? Also, have you ever seen Scent of a Woman?
I have not. No.
I feel like I have. Or I've seen a clip from it at least. It
must be the '93 Oscars. I'm looking at the wrong one. I've seen clips from it. The famously, there's the line with a great ass. He says that in Scent of a Woman.
Oh.
And I know it's about a blind Al Pacino being driven around by some younger guy and like looking for strange or something. I don't even know. Yeah.
There's a tango scene. There's a scene where he does the tango. Yeah, with a woman.
I have not. Yeah, I haven't seen. Like I said, I've just seen some like random clips from it, but I have not seen it. Okay, so Al Pacino won for Scent of a Woman. Robert Downey Jr. was nominated for Chaplin as Charlie Chaplin in Chaplin, which I have not seen, but I've heard. I can't remember if that movie is regarded as like bad or good. I actually don't remember. Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven, Stephen Rea in The Crying Game, and then Denzel as Malcolm X. I haven't seen any of those other movies.
No.
So I can't argue, but I would believe that Denzel should have won.
All right, over on Blue Sky, we had 1 vote for the book, 0 for the movie, and our final comment from Nathan. It's the book by a mile over a solid movie. The book is great at really putting you in the mind of Malcolm as he changes through his life. He had the ability to soften the edges or really judge himself for being terrible, and it's able to just give the perspective of the Malcolm from that time period. Nathan, I do appreciate that you have a different comment on every platform.
Yes. I like that you're able to give a little bit of different thing each time. It's nice.
All right. And over on Goodreads, we had 1 vote for the book and 0 for the movie, and a comment from Miko, who said, as a non-American, the totality of my knowledge regarding Malcolm X going in was an assassinated black activist. Yeah. So the book was an interesting read. While watching the movie, I was thinking how confused I would be had I not read the book first. Did you have that experience?
No, obviously not this time, but also I don't remember having that experience when I watched it in
I don't
high
either, no.
But also maybe I just had more context as an American.
That's
probably,
fair, yeah.
Like, would be my guess.
Like, yeah, the context around like the civil rights movement.
And like and what different time periods look like. And,
absolutely.
There's a bunch of stuff that just culturally I would get out of the movie that if you're not American, I think would be harder.
Oh, I should have read Miko's next sentence before we went on that bear, because Miko went on to say most of it would be undoubtedly be due to not being that familiar with the culture and time period, but I feel like the editing is still a bit confusing and jarring at times.
I would disagree. I genuinely think that if you have the context, which is, I don't think an unfair criticism that like ideally film should transcend, maybe not ideally, but you can make film that transcends cultural boundaries like
Right.
that. It is possible.
Well, and certainly if you want your film to transcend those cultural boundaries.
But I do think that you could argue that when telling a story like this, maybe that's not as possible. Like,
yeah.
And maybe shouldn't even be the goal necessarily. And I think within the context of having you don't even have to have a ton. Again, I was in high school when I watched this, and it wasn't like I was super like knowledgeable about like all of this history, but you know, I had a little bit of cultural understanding. And I think within that context, the editing and the pacing and stuff, I think works really well and isn't jarring at all for me. But again, I think that, yeah, definitely if you don't have the cultural grounding of like, well, what's going on and the different things happening, it definitely, I could see why the editing wouldn't make it any easier.
As this is once again a true story turned into a movie, the comparison is a hard one. I cannot say which is better, but I think the book is more interesting, so that shall have my vote. P.S. Last time I mentioned that the Steve Index doesn't work. That kept nagging me, and so I fixed it.
Nice.
The page is up to date again with a link to the new book-to-movie adaptation search tool, too.
Incredible. Did we mention that?
No, we didn't talk about that yet.
I thought we were going to mention
So... longtime listeners may be familiar with the Steve Index.
Yes.
Which is I guess a tool would be the right thing to call it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I'm not overly familiar with this type of like data work and like website building. I don't even really know what to refer to it as. But this is a tool that Miko built that compares I believe the IMDb scores and the Goodreads scores.
Yes, to the number of
Steves
or Stevens
involved in a production.
Yes, in front of or behind the camera.
Yes, and this is based off of an inside joke that Cottonwood Steve,
one of our longtime patrons,
yes, or Steve from Arizona, as he was going by for a long time, would often mention whether or not there were any Steves involved in the production of a movie.
He joked that the more Steves in the movie, the better the movie will be.
Yes.
And so Miko took it upon himself to test that.
Yes.
So we have an actual data. It's one of my favorite things that has ever arisen because of this. It's the perfect kind of nonsense that weird little micro internet cultures and like, you know, groups like ours can spawn, that is kind of like, in my opinion, the platonic ideal of what the internet can be.
Mm-hmm.
But
Miko also built a new tool that is a book-to-movie adaptation searching tool, where you can go in and I believe there's a way that you can like remove all of the stuff we've already covered and then search according to topic, I think.
Yeah,
like different
keywords and
like
stuff,
keywords, different
genres,
book to movie.
I think, maybe.
And I think it's like cross-referencing Goodreads and IMDb.
Yeah, and it can tell you. So that was based on us talking about specifically, I think, when you were saying that it's hard to find Christmas movies.
Far fewer Christmas movie adaptations than you would think.
And so now we have a tool where Katie can literally just go and search all of them relatively quickly and easily, thanks to Miko, because again, Miko's the best.
So thank you, Miko.
Yes.
Thank you for existing.
Yep.
And wanting to do strange side projects for us.
Yeah.
So our winner this week, unsurprisingly, was the book with 11 votes to the movie's 4.
In retrospect, I guess it's unsurprising because it's an autobiography, and it's hard to compare those, but I hear what everybody says. I'm never going to read that book, probably, just because of the length. I don't want to say that. I might. If anything, I'd probably listen to it if I could find an audiobook of it.
There's a Kindle only.
That's right, yeah.
Or Audible only.
Is it read by Denzel?
No.
That would be fucking incredible.
It's read by, oh my God, I said who it was in the prequel episode, and I can't remember now.
It was somebody. It wasn't Delroy
no, but it's another like prominent black actor, but I can't remember who it is now.
I would hope it's not a prominent white actor.
That would be, yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Read by Lawrence Fishburne.
But it is an Audible exclusive, so you would have to have an Audible account to listen to it.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was, hearing all everybody's points, and take all of that into consideration, and admitting that I have not read the book to compare, I really like the movie. And
I really like the movie
I think
too.
I would vote for it.
And I think it's one of those kind of weird situations where the movie is legitimately so good.
Yeah.
And very effective, clearly. Like, we had a long conversation
Yes,
on the
yeah.
episode about how effective it was for both of us as younger people.
Yeah.
But I also think it's one of those things that it's just difficult to take something that is a real, true account from the mouth of a person who actually lived
Yeah.
and say, actually, this fictionalized version
Right.
of it is the better story.
Obviously, 100%.
I think everybody maybe feels a little weird about that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, that was it for all of your feedback. Thank you so much for sending all that in. Love discussing what you all have to say about the stuff we watch and read. Katie, time now to preview All You Zombies by Robert Heinlein.
What if I could put him in front of you? The man that ruined your life. Would you kill him? By the time you listen to this, 7 years will have passed. Here you are, at the beginning of your new life. It can be overwhelming, knowing the future.
Quotation mark M dash, all you zombies M dash, quotation mark, is a science fiction short story by American writer Robert A. Heinlein, who also wrote Starship Troopers, which we have covered on this show, which I remember not liking the book very much.
Yeah.
But this short story was apparently written over the course of one day. He apparently wrote it July 11th of 1958, and it was first published in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction after being rejected by Playboy.
Oh.
And I've never cracked open a Playboy. Does Playboy still publish fiction?
Probably. I assume they still do a similar thing where they publish like articles and stuff. But I actually don't know. I don't even know.
Interesting.
I don't even know
Like,
if Playboy's in print, like physical print
That's
still. I
true,
assume
yeah.
it is, but I don't actually know.
Every time, because this does come up frequently when we cover like older short stories and stuff, and every time they're like, "Oh, it was published in Playboy," I'm like, "That's weird."
Yeah. Playboy is also one of those things that's really interesting because, from my understanding, the quality and like type of thing that was published in Playboy, especially back in the day, varied so greatly. But a lot of it was like, you know, that classic joke people will say of like, if somebody get caught like with a Playboy, they're like, "Oh, I'm just reading it for the articles," or whatever. Like that's the joke. But it's actually I've heard there's some pushback to that idea. I've heard people say like, if somebody says they actually read Playboy for the articles, that's actually like a bigger indictment of their character, because a lot of the stuff that Playboy published in its articles was like awful, like morally reprehensible in terms of like being like weird, like rape apologia, and like that kind of stuff, kind of like manosphere style stuff. But that's not all of it that it was. They also had weird, random, like sci-fi fiction stories and stuff like that. That wasn't. There was also stuff like that in it, but yeah, which is interesting because
I bet if we went back through and like I looked back at all of the different short stories that we've covered, particularly like older ones like this, I bet Playboy comes up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So this particular story involves a number of paradoxes caused by time travel. It further envelops themes explored by the author in a previous work called By His Bootstraps, which was published around 18 years before All You Zombies. The unusual title of the story, which, as you heard at the beginning, includes both the quotation marks and the M dashes. That's part of the title, is a quotation from a sentence near the end of the story. And because the quotation is taken from the middle of the sentence, we have the dashes indicating the omitted text before and after the title.
So it could have been an ellipses before and after if they wanted to do it that way.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get it. As a person who understands a lot about how punctuation functions, that's certainly correct. I also feel like it's
As a title,
I feel like it's a little pretentious,
a little bit.
but whatever.
It's also fun.
Yeah,
I
it's
like it.
fun. In 1980, All You Zombies was nominated for the Balrog Award for short
I assume
fiction.
that's a reference to Tolkien. Like,
I don't know of any other Balrogs. Philosopher David Lewis considered All You Zombies and By His Bootstraps to be examples of, quote, perfectly consistent time travel stories.
interesting.
So
What is By His Bootstraps?
it's the other story that Heinlein wrote.
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything about it.
I mean, based on its title, I can tell that it's like one of those time travel story where, yeah, it's self, like that self.
Yeah, like a
thing.
self. Yeah,
Hence
yeah.
the By His Bootstraps. Like,
Yeah.
he goes back in time and does something that creates the circumstances that lead to a thing that happened in the
I don't
future.
know anything about By His Bootstraps, but apparently it has like very similar themes to All You Zombies, and apparently, according to this, also involves time travel.
Yeah.
Stanislaw Lem,
That's the author of Solaris?
yes, a TFIL alum, Stanislaw Lem, in his monograph Science Fiction and Futurology, mentioned All You Zombies as an example of a minimal possible bootstrap paradox in science fiction.
There you go. I wonder if it's called a bootstrap paradox because of By His Bootstraps, or if By His Bootstraps was referencing
Yeah, I don't know.
the bootstrap paradox. Good Lord. Yeah.
I have no idea. That we'll have to look that up, though. That would be fun to find out. Finally, stating that it and other Heinlein time travel stories, quote, force the reader into contemplations of the nature of causality and the arrow of time, Carl Sagan listed All You Zombies as an example of how science fiction, quote, can convey bits and pieces, hints and phrases of knowledge unknown or inaccessible to the reader.
Absolutely. You know what? One day, I'm still surprised nobody has asked us to do Contact yet. It's going to happen one of these days. I might have to make it my birthday episode.
We could do that. You don't have a birthday episode picked out yet.
That might have to be
I
it.
do, but you don't.
Been wanting to do Contact for a while. Okay, I'll have to think about that.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what Contact is? You've not seen Contact? Oh my God.
Give me some kind of reference.
Jodie Foster movie from the late 90s about, it's called Contact because they contact aliens.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about,
They
but
get
I've
a
never
signal
seen
from
it.
like aliens, and then
I mean, that
Jodie
happens
Foster
in a
goes-
lot of movies, to
I know,
be fair.
but then Jodie Foster, but it's like hard sci-fi. It was written by Carl Sagan. It's based on a book written by Carl Sagan called
Yeah,
Contact.
then I think that would be a great one for you to read.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's go ahead now and preview the movie based on All You Zombies, Predestination.
So what, you're a cop?
I'm a temporal agent. We prevent crime before it takes place.
What is it?
It's a time machine. Don't ever exceed the jump limit. It can be problematic. If you ever want to stop the Fizzle Bomber, you'll never get another chance. Time, it catches up with us all.
Predestination is a 2014 film written and directed by Michael and Peter Spierig, who are German / Australian, German by heritage, but Australian, like born and like living, I think. Identical twin brothers, known for the film Daybreakers, the Saw like spin-off reboot film Jigsaw, and then a film called Winchester along with this movie. They haven't made a ton, and there's a lot of years in between them, but they made a few movies that Daybreakers also has Ethan Hawke in it. I've heard of it. It's like I think it's like a vampire movie, kind of like a weird like sci-fi vampire movie.
Makes sense.
It might be based on a
title.
book. I don't actually know.
Yeah, I don't. Never
The
heard
film
of it.
stars Ethan Hawke, Sarah Snook, Noah Taylor, Kuni Hashimoto, Christopher Kirby, and Christopher Summers, among others. It has an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 69 on Metacritic, and a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. And it made $5.4 million against a budget of $5 million. So the Spierig brothers were announced as the directors on the project in May 2012. And on the topic of adapting this 50-year-old short story, they said, quote, "So we worked on the premise that if there was a way to pick apart the logic of like the time travel over that time, the last 50 years, it would have been done by now. We kind of say, let's trust the short story and trust that logic. So we stuck very closely to it. End
Oh,
quote.
interesting.
So
I'll be
apparently
the judge
yeah.
of that.
Supposedly a pretty close adaptation. And then these are just a handful of IMDb trivia facts because there really wasn't that much about the production. They're kind of some Easter egg stuff to look out for in the movie. When the barkeep sits down at the typewriter for the first time, and the barkeep is played by Ethan Hawke, there's a copy of Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein.
I always forget he wrote that.
Sitting next to the typewriter. When John is at the store purchasing that typewriter, the saleswoman is holding a 1966 edition of Heinlein's novel, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Banger
Just
title.
Some more, yeah,
Incredible title.
Great title. Just some more Easter eggs. The picture of the Crosby Shoes building in the beginning of the movie, which I don't know what the context of this is or why it would be this, but I thought it was really interesting. The picture of the Crosby Shoes building in the beginning of the movie is actually a picture of the exploded reactor number 4 from the Chernobyl power plant.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
At one point in the film, 8 minutes and 18 seconds in, supposedly, according to IMDb trivia, Ethan Hawke looks at his watch, and the date that is depicted there is his actual birthday.
Okay.
And then my final one here is there's a character in the film referred to as the Fizzle Bomber. Fizzle Bomber, and he plants a fizzle bomb, I guess. I don't
what a
know.
whimsical name for something
I don't
horrible.
know. The fizzle bomb timer discovered at the bomb site is actually made in the film from a SparkFun Arduino Pro Mini 328, which you can Google and look up. And as it is shown in the movie, with a few things destroyed, could actually serve as its intended purpose as like part of a bomb. So I thought
what is a SparkFun Arduino Mini?
it's essentially a little circuit board, like a computer circuit board.
It sounds like a camera or something. That's why I was asking.
Arduinos are like little circuit boards that you can buy with like a kit, and then you can like turn them into things. Like if you know a little bit of like basic programming and like soldering and wiring, you can use them to like build little things.
Okay.
So you can use them to like, if you want to make an alarm clock that does something weird, you can use this to like, it's like a logic gates and stuff. It's like a little tiny computer that you can customize and make do different things.
Well, that makes sense.
And so you can use them to make bombs with is the point.
Sure.
And they actually use that, which I just thought it was random and funny.
All right. Well, if you want to support us, you can follow us on social media. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, or Goodreads. We will, this coming week, we will be starting our March Madness bracket. So if you want to participate in that and vote in all of the polls, follow us over on social media. You can do that there. Another way to support us is by going to wherever you listen to us, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Leave us a 5-star rating, write us a nice little review. We love to see that. And if you really want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon. You can be a patron for free, and you get access to the polls as a free patron. If you're not on other social media sites, that's another way to do that. At the $2 level, you get access to early access, usually, unless we're running late like we are right now. And you also get access to monthly episode announcements. If you like to read or watch along with us, that's a way to know what's coming in advance. At the $5 level, you get access to our bonus episodes. We put out an episode on Megamind in February, and this month we will be covering whatever the runner-up from our March Madness bracket is. And at the $15 level, you get access to priority recommendations. And this was a patron request from Matilde. So thank you, Matilde, for requesting this. And if you would like to watch Predestination along with us, you can, of course, always check with your local library to see if they have a copy of it. Or if you still have a local video rental store in your town, you could check with them. Otherwise, this is not streaming anywhere with a subscription, but you can rent it for around $4 from Amazon Prime, Apple TV, or YouTube.
Yep. I'm excited to watch this one. I read a little bit of what it's about because I had literally no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm very intrigued to see
as
what
am
the
I.
heck this whole thing's going to be. Because the minor spoilers, it concerns and I don't think this is a major spoiler. It was like in the first couple sentences of like the like the summary on IMDb that didn't get into any spoilers. It concerns a trans character pretty prominently, and again in a film written and produced in 2012 by seemingly a couple cis straight white guys. I was like, oh boy, this could be interesting.
This is either going to be really handled really beautifully and great, or a complete nightmare.
The fact that it was recommended by a patron gives me hope that maybe, and by Matilda, gives me hope that maybe this is one of those that is like a surprisingly, again, not that 2012 is the ancient past where we can forgive everybody for for being transphobes or anything like that. Not saying that by any stretch, but it was definitely before the like current modern reckoning on kind of an understanding about and I think like movement towards like acceptance of trans people that has really come into shape over the last like decade, I would say, at least in like popular culture, I would say. Again, trans acceptance and liberation movements have existed long before that, and plenty of very cool, very smart people were very accepting of trans people long before 2016. I'm just saying that like in popular culture,
in broader popular culture, that has been more recent.
That has been more recent, and so it is very interesting to see what this is going to be. But even disregarding that, it looks like apparently a pretty compelling, like fun little like trippy sci-fi film. So very excited to watch it. Come back in just a few days because we're turning this around quick because we were late on this prequel episode, to hear what we have to say about Predestination. Until that time, guys, gals, I'm Battery Pals, and everybody else,
keep reading books,
keep watching movies,
and keep being awesome.